I love the book. I love the title because it gives us a little optimism. We do see that politics seems to be just collapsing. What has happened? Because, I mean, there's always been rivalry and conflict. And, I mean, I've been in office before, and it was tough. But these people, they really hate each other, and it's just vicious now. Where did it just go off the rails?
America has gone through a big change since the 1970s. You know, from the time you and I were young, when there were 13 colonies, up till the 1970s.
What do you mean? I'm still young, Scott.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. When the country, everything in the country kept getting bigger and more centralized and more homogenized. And people in Washington liked that. They liked all the power flowing to them. And the political system wants to hang on to that power. They want every decision to be made in Washington. The rest of us want decisions made closer to home because we still believe in those core American ideals, the founding ideals of freedom, equality, and self-governance. And it's this battle to hang on to power in Washington that has made it so toxic.
You've always been a person that saw things that were going to emerge that other people didn't. I mean, an example, a lot of our audience may not know you were one of the co-founders of ESPN.
Yeah, that's done pretty well, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, when it started, I remember people saying, who's going to watch sports all day? Now there's, what, 16 ESPN channels or whatever? But you saw that coming. You saw that there was a market out there for that. You started polling using the internet when nobody else was. They were laughing at you, but your polls turned out, because I remember in 2008 when I was on the ballot, your polls were the most accurate polls that were out there in the marketplace, period. Why were they different than the traditional polling?
The idea of polling is easy in theory. You know, you get a random sample of people and you ask them good, intelligent questions and you get good results. In practice, it's very difficult to get a good sample. And in 2016, the polling wasn't nearly as bad as people think, but there were not enough people interviewed who did not have a college degree. So that's one part of the issue. The second is the questions you ask. What are you looking for in the way you interpret it? You know, we've seen this impeachment debacle going on in Congress for the last few months. And ever since the hearings began, we saw a shift away from support for impeachment.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with what was going on in Washington. It had to do with the blockbuster jobs report. You have to look at what is really motivating people, what they're really paying attention to. So the analysis matters.
So how do we react in a political year? 2020, we're about to get into it. It's going to be politics all day, all night, disgustingly too much. So how can we keep perspective?
It's hard to keep perspective because we will be told every day that this election is the most important of your lifetime, and if your team loses, the world is coming to an end. In the book, I highlight lots of things that happened despite our political system. Does anybody out here have a 401k?
Yeah.
Okay. Congress never meant to do that. They passed a law in 1978 that had all kinds of other provisions they said were really important. And then some guy named Ted Bennett did something really bizarre. He read the bill, and he found paragraph 401k that was either a typo or meant to do something else, and he realized he could create a benefit for middle-class Americans.
You know, there's so many things we really need, and what you're talking about, pragmatic. We need to build bridges. We need airports. We need sewer and water systems. Those are really nonpartisan issues. Everybody ought to embrace that. President Trump said he wanted to do that. Democrats said they wanted to do it. Why can't they come together on that?
So when a Democrat looks at President Trump, they expect to see a crook or somebody who's trying to con them. When President Trump looks at Democrats in Congress, he thinks people are on a witch hunt against him. You start with those perceptions.
Where would he get that idea? I don't know.
Well, once you have those perceptions, you can't get past them. You know, about 40% of Republicans think that if Trump is reelected, there will be violence from the political left. About 40% of the people on the political left think if the president loses reelection, there will be violence from the political right. These positions are deeply embedded.
The book is encouraging, and we need a little of that right now. So to start your year out right, let me suggest you get the book by Scott Rasmussen. The Sun is Still Rising. It's available now at Amazon, all major booksellers. And also, if you want to keep up with the breaking political news and read Scott's Number of the Day feature, visit Ballotpedia.org. It is on your screen so you get the spelling right. On Twitter, follow him at Scott W. Rasmussen.